Okay, let's create a honc project using our CLI. I simply type in pmpm create honc-app at latest, and a wizard will walk us through the setup of the application. So first of all, I want to create a folder for it, and I call it honc out. And it's getting a little bit tricky here with the goose, but let's see. Next, it asks me which database I want to use. And for this video, I'm going to use D1. That is the SQLite Cloudflare database that comes with the Cloudflare developer platform. I'm using this one here. I want to install the dependencies. I want to initialize the Git repo. And now it's setting up the template. It's also giving me a D1 explainer. We will see why this can get handy. And now it's installing dependencies. That takes a while. Now it's ready, and it gives us already a bunch of commands that we can run from here. But before we do that, I would like to inspect the code with you. So let's go and navigate to our created folder and open the project in our IDE. And yeah, that is a project structure here. And if I go to source, I see here in the index file that I import Drizzle and Hono. I use here a honc app and have created 3 endpoints, or in the app I have 3 endpoints. A get endpoint with the default that will honk from above. I have an endpoint to get users that will basically query our database and look in the schema for users and return all the users that we have. And we also have an endpoint to post a user, and this one will basically insert a new user into our database. Beside our index.ts, I also have a database folder, and in that database folder I have a schema.ts, and here I can basically see the table for the user that has been defined, with each user as having an ID, a name, and an email address. And next, I also have a Drizzle config.ts, which basically gives me an idea how Drizzle is generating and migrating the files. If you want to look deeper into this, this is a part where you can configure it as well. And then I also have the D1 explainer that I mentioned before. And this is quite handy because developing with D1 locally and in production is quite different, and you need to walk through different steps. And basically the file gives you some hands-on and explanation what you have to do. And yeah, you also have predefined scripts in the application, and the predefined scripts you can see in the package JSON. And now let's set up the database, because that's getting quite interesting with the local development of D1. We first have to touch the database to see if or make sure the database exists, that we have an instance of it locally. Then we generate the tables. After generating the tables, we can then migrate the tables. And after the migration, we can also seed the table with some pre-seeded data. And basically the command db setup is doing it for us. So I can now run the db setup here. It's now generating the tables and now migrating, and there it is. It asks us, yes, let's do it. And now it's starting seeding, and now the database is seeded successfully. So now what I can do is run the application and see what data got seeded into the database. To do that, I run the command pmp dev from here. This basically spins up Wrangler locally and gives us an environment to run a Cloudflare worker locally. So let's do that. So didn't want to change the script here. And let's open our browser. We can honk from above, or we see that this was working. And then let's see what we get if we use the API users endpoint. And here is our pre-seeded data with some users that we've just seeded in. And that's the basic setup.